So Jim Gallagher Jr. is joining us right now. Jim was part of our NBC Sports family coverage of the U.S. Open in the week that was. His credentials are absolutely stout. He's a five-time winner on tour. He won the 1993 Tour Championship. He finished in third place at the 91 PGA Championship. He finished in a piece of second at the 92 PGA Championship. He started in an astounding 546 Tour starts, and he had top tens in 50 of those. You imagine almost 10% of your starts finishing in the top 10 speaks to his prowess and the skill that he took to the course. That was also demonstrated in the fact that he represented the United States on two occasions, once on the Ryder Cup and once in the President's Cup as well. Jim, absolute delight to have your company. Thank you for spending some time with us, and welcome as we're broadcasting live from this Travelers Championship this week. I am curious what your thoughts are on Pinehurst #2 as a stage, as a venue for this U.S. Open. Just how hard was that golf course playing?
Well, thanks for having me. In a heat wave, we're in Mississippi, so it's all relative. So I feel for the people up there. So this is every day at home here for the next couple months. But I would say it really, I think the USGA did a very nice job of setting it up. I walked around on Tuesday, and the greens were very spicy. They seemed, we'd heard numbers of 14, 15 on a few of them. They were very firm, and they got to the point of very scary. And if you got any wind, if they would have gotten any wind, it would have been just a disaster. That being said, the wind didn't blow that much. They kept them at a manageable speed. They were still challenging. I think the unique part of it is when you look at the greens from the fairway, they look big, but they play very small because of every edge falling off, the crowns. It's the speed of the greens. But, if you made a mistake, you were penalized. Friday's feature group, I had Rory, Scotty, and Xander, and they made 6, 7, 7 on the fifth hole. The fifth hole cost Rory McIlroy the championship. I think he made bogey there a couple times during the week. So, you go back and look at those short putts he missed, but that hole kind of was a disaster. But, there were some guys, several guys finished under par. I mean, you look at the winning score. So it's different because we're used to U.S. Open with a lot of rough. And the fairways were fairly generous. I walked some of them off 37, 40 yards wide. But they played a little smaller, too, because some of the edges kind of fell off into the native area. And as Ben Crenshaw told me 10 years ago, the stuff, as he referred to it as. They added a lot more of the native area, the grasses, the different types there. I'm not going to try to name all 70-some, but I know I saw some pretty bad lies, and I saw some guys have some decent lies. It seemed like the guys who played aggressive, overly aggressive, were penalized coming out of there. Some would call it a game of luck, but a lot of times the game is kind of luck, a lucky kick here, lucky break there. But sometimes it was, I thought it would be 50-50 getting a decent lie. I mean, they never had perfect lies. But, it was an interesting play when you look at the 18th hole. When you look at some of the finishing holes, 14, 15, 16 just kicked them in the teeth. 17 was difficult depending on the hole location. 18 was interesting. It wasn't a long hole compared to some of the other par fours, but the fairway played fairly narrow. And, you were hit and miss. But, in the long run, Bryson he played great. His interaction with the crowd, the Payne Stewart spirit, the SMU connection, you go through. I believe in that stuff. I truly believe a lot in that. And he believed in it. And there was something to it. And I think the fans were out, great support. It was steamy hot. And the hard part is when you're walking around there. I know Sissy, my wife, was there for a couple of days, ruined a couple pairs of shoes like everybody else. You're walking in the sand, but the sand is reflecting the heat. And it was like that, nearly every day. But the bunker shot that he hit on 18, oh, my goodness. We talk about it being the toughest shot, hands down. To do it in that, and phenomenal. One of the best shots we'll see in the final shot or final get it up and down. Payne had to get it up and down to win. I'm sitting there watching in my room. I had just gotten back from finishing up coverage, and I'm giving Sissy the play-by-play. I said, that is unbelievable. But you still got to make a putt, and he did. But, great champion. It's really changed a lot. Happy for him. He's good. He's what golf needs right now. We needed this kind of a championship, but he's embraced it all. I don't know that he did it early on in his career. He's worked very hard, and he's a well-deserving champion, no question about it.
Jim, let's go back to that shot out of the bunker, because you're the first person that at least I've had a chance to talk to at your caliber to say, take us through exactly how he played that shot. He intimated that he was trying to hit a chunk and run, that his miss was going to be short of the flag, but this thing came out so exceptionally well. Give us some expert analysis for people at home of how this shot was executed.
Well, he went with a 55-degree, call it a sand wedge, and I think that's the key. He was kind of down on the flat, the key to that is not getting too steep, not coming in too steep. I always kind of felt like I used my arms, my upper body, the big muscles to hit that, and kind of coming in, like a kind of a normal shot. But you see, it took it a little bit outside. He caught it clean, and because it doesn't have the loft, it's going to come out usually a little bit lower. He still had to get the ball up in the air. But he hit it on the downslope. It came out, and that's a shot. A lot of people, you have to go practice that. That's a feel shot. But the biggest thing to me, what I would tell anybody listening, and I've helped some younger players with it, is just don't get steep with it. You kind of take it back a little bit lower, take it back straight back a little bit with that, gap wedge, even a pitchy wedge. I mean, when you look at the great Chi Rodriguez, he would make you hit 9-irons out of the bunker to learn how the club goes through the sand to hit those shots. So that's what I would suggest. Go out there and practice those. That's a shot. If he doesn't have the lip, he could even hit that with a pitching wedge or a 9-iron with less loft, because it's going to get into the sand. It's not going to dig down as much as long as you don't get steep. But he said he practiced it. Very few people do. We all talk about how difficult it is, but very few of us actually go out and practice. But to do it on that stage, crazy good.
Crazy good. I'm not sure if there's any irony in asking you this question, but I think there's legitimacy in it, and that is Bryson DeChambeau right now in this moment, is he right now the most popular player in the world?
Popular? Could be, yeah. Based on what I saw, I mean, look how he celebrated with everybody. He really did. He took it all in, and I would say this about it. He came on with Smiley, I think it was Friday, and I wasn't sure how that was going to work in the U.S. Open, but he kind of embraced that. He came in, and he was just being himself. He's enjoying the moment. I think in the past, as we're young, we get caught up in things. We get angry at things we don't understand. But he reminded me maybe he took the spirit of Payne Stewart, and that's what Payne Stewart was, showman. But he also, when it was time to focus in on the shot, he was able to do it. But, you look at the pictures of the people. I mean, there aren't many people, players, I could name very few, less than on one hand, who have gone through the people like that and celebrated with it. That's how you become popular. And he talked about being on his YouTube channel, and that's the new way these younger players are doing, and these guys are doing it. They're trying to connect with the people out there. And he connected with them. He for some reason, they were really pulling for him because he was speaking to him. And I think that's one of the things we get caught up in our world playing, and you're always taught to focus. But occasionally, Phil Mickelson did it. Arnold did it. You acknowledge the fans who are paying hundreds and thousands of dollars to come out there and watch you play. Acknowledge them. Just every once in a while. Now, there are some really stupid things said to players. I promise you, walking down the fairway. There's some great things, people encouraging you, and you have to block out some of it. But just every once in a while, acknowledge them. But to walk out there with the people like that, I thought, and then he jumps in on the set with Johnson Wagner, who it's documented the struggles he's had with that. And that was some of the best TV. Like I'm saying, there's very few people would have hung around like that afterwards, spent the time, and enjoy the moment. This is what it's all about. You're at the pinnacle now. You've spent all this time working on your game, and now you're getting 2 U.S. Opens. Phenomenal. 3 USGA events, championships he's won. It just, the cards are always kind of in there. I always believe that. There was something to the Payne Stewart spirit. I told my wife that Friday. I said, Bryson's going to win because there's something about Payne Stewart, Pinehurst, 18th hole. Something's going on there.
No doubt. As I'm asking you this question, we're going to play the video of Rory McIlroy, of course, missing some critical putts down the stretch. We opened this segment with, of course, the news from yesterday that Rory's going to take a couple of weeks to contemplate, essentially meaning that he's going to miss the Travelers Championship here. But with what you saw with Rory McIlroy down the stretch, I know it's harsh to ask you this question, but it's the honest question that needs to be asked. Did Rory McIlroy choke in that final round coming into Sunday?
I would say the pressure Might have gotten to him. Look at the putt he hit on the last hole, how the putter came up. You don't miss short putts. I think mentally that's a big part of that. Hey, I've been there. I've never been to Rory's level, but I've blown tournaments. Call it a choke, call it whatever you want. I'll just, relive a story. I mean, it's Tucson. It's early on in Phil Mickelson's career. It's my tournament to win. I've got it in the middle of the fairway on 18. I block it out to the right. I 3-putt. I remember missing that putt. And I was sick to my stomach walking off to that green, knowing that I should have at least won or been in a playoff. And I remember signing my card, and I think it was ESPN. They wanted to do the interview, and I said, man, I can't do it. I can't do it. And they said, you got to do it. And so I said, give me a minute. Give me a minute to kind of get and I thought my dad would have killed me had I not stayed around to do the interview, as much as that hurt, as much pain as that was. And, I did the interview, and I'll tell you what, I didn't sleep for weeks, months, until I got right back in contention. I remember that the Players' Championship, which you look back February to the end of March, and my wife finally just said, Jim, you're going to have to get it together. You're not sleeping. You're all upset about what you did 8 weeks ago. You can either sit here and dwell on this, or you can just buckle up and get back in, get on that horse that threw you off. And I think
Rory is definitely resilient too, Jimmy. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We've reached the top of the hour, my friend. Thank you very much for the time that you've spent with us. Thank you for all the hard work you and everybody else did as part of our NBC sports family, bringing the world the U.S. Open. It was great to chat with you today.
All right. Appreciate you having me on. Stay cool up here if you can.
Yeah, I'm trying to. We're trying to. He's talking about the weather up here.
Wear a black shirt.
Just for a little while.